Flatzoid FE.
Flatzoid.
Flatzoid.
Flatzoid FE.
Flatzoid FE.
The flatzoid is found.
Flatzoid.
I don't have the same level of scientific understanding as Flatzoid. I think that's about right.
Flatzoid's YouTube channel. Subscribe today.
Well, g'day flatties and globe defenders. This is Critical Think from Down Under.
If you could think of someone that epitomizes stupidity, who would it be? Or, well, in my case, it's quite a few of them, but this guy's definitely one of the top on the list. This is Critical Think. Well, sit back and laugh your ass off at him.
As a background to this video, Flatzoid was trying to debunk Ranty on his new channel Flirspective.
No, not trying to debunk. It's not simply debunking, it's more than showing total ignorance and lack of understanding perspective.
When Ranty was trying to explain the concept of eye level. One of the questions from Ranty was, how can eye level be down lower than eye level? I know it's a silly question, but...
And it is a dumb question because nobody ever said eye level can be lower than eye level. This is just you guys' ill-informed understanding of how perspective works. It's literally, she was looking downwards from a higher position, which changed her relative eye level. You know, perspective.
But Fleurs seem to have this problem with eye level and perspective, and they can't rationalise the two. They can't understand what eye level is. It just seems to be beyond their comprehension.
So your argument is, no, you don't understand because I say so because you're a flurf. Wow, what a great argument. And no, you're talking to someone who actually studied art. I majored in art, so I understand perspective and I definitely understand eye level, which is why I'm debunking you and Ranty so obliteratingly easy.
And anyway, you can see right here, Randy's asking the question here. Why, if eye level is 210 meters high, then why should it be down here?
Just the fact that he asked that question and the fact that you are trying to ask the same question shows how willfully ignorant you guys are trying to be. He is first of all showing orthographic, not in perspective view, which doesn't take perspective into account. And this is why it came to that argument. He literally doesn't understand, as I seeing you also don't, is that Sandra was on a high elevation and thus she was looking downwards at the observation, thus changing her elevation angle. Do you understand that?
Pointing at somewhere down here. And the answer from Flatzoid is it's called perspective.
Yes, perspective. And that's why Ranty goes out of his way to show he doesn't have to show in perspective view. He uses orthographic view because it does not take perspective into account. And by the way, that noodle would still be going level if it was in perspective view, just seeming to drop. There's a difference.
But you see, something at eye level remains at eye level, and perspective doesn't change that. They think that something getting smaller means eye level goes down or something, but anyway, Ranty was trying to explain it. As usual, Flatzoid completely missed the point.
Definitely did not miss the point. I'm just pointing out how wrong you guys are, which you are really showing true.
And come up with this kind of garbage.
Yeah, perspective would be garbage according to you because you guys have to take the effects of perspective and call it earth curve. So obviously you have to call it garbage, you know. Reality is now fantasy to you guys. But anyway, guys, this is all this guy really goes on with. I'm sorry if it's just back and forth with rubbish because this guy just cannot seem to actually bring an argument. But anyway, he's going to show some sort of demonstration, and well, I always had a demonstration lined up which I was going to use for a different video, but I will show it here because it actually pertains to this, and well, I think it's going to be very helpful. Let's hope you actually learn something.
So Flatsoid approaches this with his own piece of kitchen science, a taller blue bottle and a shorter container with a purple lid. Notice the difference in the two heights. Now there's a whole lot of gobbledygook on this side which is irrelevant because Flatsoid wants to give the answer perspective to everything, and we do know how perspective works, okay?
I clearly wasn't an angel.
We do know how perspective works, okay?
Can you handle it? Come out the front with it.
Oh, and yes, things change in angular size, and things do appear to ramp up towards eye level. And notice how the AOA, whatever AOA is, I know that angle of attack is an aircraft term, and somehow it's been hijacked to mean something in flat earthery, but I'm not really sure exactly what it means.
Well, we just call it angle of attack because it's the way you view something. It's an angle. We do see in angles. So if you view something at a certain incident angle, it changes the way you observe something. So, angle of attack.
And since flat earthery has no definitions, then we can't really be sure. It's like many of the terms in flat earthery, it can mean whatever you like as long as the earth is flat.
That's funny because most of the words come from the flat earth sides, which you guys then go and parrot and literally show you have no understanding of. Keep it up.
So notice how the elevation changes, the survival, I don't know. Anyway, that's complete bollocks and irrelevant. We know...
Irrelevant, you say? Elevation has a huge part to play with perspective. You should know this since you say you understand perspective. So actually all you're doing is validating our point that you do not understand perspective. Well, carry on.
How perspective works, and but what about eye level? Ranty's whole thing was about eye level. Now, if you recall, this container in the foreground, this one here, is taller than the container in the background.
Yes, it's physical size. But when it comes to perspective, look how the other tube has risen to eye level.
Yes, the container in the background still appears smaller because it's further away. However, if you moved this container further away, it would also get smaller. But if it was up against the wall right there, it would still be taller than the one with the purple lid. Okay? So in fact, the eye level in this diagram, which means take a level point from the eye, would be somewhere around that blue line. So why are you pointing this straw at that lid? And then why is this message here? So tell me again how the mountain should keep its actual size again, Ranty? That's not what Ranty was saying. Ranty wasn't saying that it should keep its actual size. Ranty was saying that eye level should be always above the mountain because the observer is above the height of that mountain. So in this case, to illustrate the point here, blue line, eye level, right? Other mountain represented by the purple below. Okay? Now I know this is a bit hard, but if you were to draw a level line from the top of that foreground bottle and make it go and extend it out to the wall, this level line would intersect the wall at the blue line. Why have you got this pointing at there where it is. Could this be that you're trying to say something stupid, like watch as the rod seems to follow perspective, that you think that eye level can change just because you want it to? And then this was followed up with another video, because in the previous video he was holding the straw. So instead he taped the straw to the top of the taller bottle. Now, why tape it at one end? Oh, that would make it easier to tilt it however you like. That's right. And see this here? This diagram is a deliberately deceptive camera angle, and I'll show you how that works in a little while. If you look closely, this yellow tube appears to angle upwards there when, you know, I think the intent was that was supposed to appear level. But in fact it's tilting down, but he's used a camera angle and another little trick to make it look like it's tilting up a little bit there. Again, he set it up so that it's the tube is taped and it's pointing to the top of that container over there. Now, why is it pointing exactly to the top of that container? What has that container got to do with eye level? Nothing much, really. You could have replaced it with a taller one or a shorter one. Would you then have to point the yellow tube at the top of the other container if it was shorter? I mean, the whole thing is just ridiculous. And there's all this text there because I know Ugly Mug is in the way. It says, anyone see how the tube has risen relative to eye level? No. See the relation to the objects just by change. Oh, no, rubbish. See how elevation changes the angle of the rod to the tub. Oh, you know, that's just perspective and moving the camera up and down and parallax and all that. It's really nothing of any consequence. But here, very interesting to see, he says, everything below eye level rises and everything above sinks. So here's a question for you. Why is this part of the tube sinking to below eye level? Remember, eye level is on the wall there, but this part of the tube starts from above and then goes below. Once it gets below eye level, shouldn't it start to rise again? You know, things at eye level stay at eye level, they don't go below eye level. So there I've drawn the lines in. You can see that this tube is pointing downwards below eye level. So if you were going to do this properly, this tube should be level, and then it would point up to the wall there. So just because you want to point it down there doesn't mean that something level will point down there, because this yellow tube is not level.
Correct. The angular size changes, not its physical size. But according to perspective, it's still rising relative to eye level, making my point, dude.
So this is pretty much a bunch of fakery and bordering on fraudulent.
So that's your argument. It's fraudulent and just not correct because it demolishes your globe argument. Great rebuttal, as always. But this is the type of, how can I put it, idiocy we get from you guys.
But I think the real problem is Flatside's too stupid to understand what eye level is.
Is that so? Then why is it I keep pointing out to you guys the horizon is eye level? Which it is, especially portrayed in perspective. So get your facts straight.
In fact, can't even understand what level is.
Is that so? You seem to be the one that thinks you live on a geoid sphere. Did you guys not know that its elevation is no point higher or lower right across a perpendicular? So why is it that the geoid changes with elevation? That kind of demolishes your argument that your spheroid or geoid is level.
So I've duplicated this bit of skullduggery, and you can see my fishy sauce bottle there. I haven't got a plastic tube, so I've just used a plastic ruler instead. I hope that's okay. And my bottle of tomato sauce. I've taken the obligatory deceptive shot there to show that that's in fact higher than the tomato paste. Now I take a picture and oh, look at that!
Yes, look at that. Perspective showing it rise relative to eye level. You know, the argument we've been making all this time. You getting it yet?
Eye level points to the top of the tomato paste. Just joking, of course. It's pointing down, isn't it? So I've balanced a level on top just to see what the angle might be. Got it as close as I could, so let's play this.
The fact that you still think we're saying that it bends down is hilarious. It's just showing how incompetent you are to actually understand an actual argument. Please stop with your strawman idiocy. We don't say it bends down. We say it rises relative to eye level, as you're validating.
You can see it's not very level. And it's an angle of 4 degrees it's showing there. Now my table is not level either. It's got an angle of 0.9 degrees. So nearly 1 degree. That would mean that that ruler is pointing down by about 3 degrees when it should be level.
So you admit then if it's pointing downwards or upwards, it changes your relative eye level then? Is that what you're trying to say? I would hope for a response on that.
So here I've changed my bottle of fishy sauce for a jar of olives. It's also at 0.9 degrees, the top of it, which is as expected. And I've taped my ruler to the top of the jar of olives just as a second demonstration. I'm looking down the ruler at the top of the tomato paste.
Yep, and as you notice, you're validating again. Look at the jar at the back. It's actually smaller and lower, but it appears to rise relative to eye level.
Now, this is not much different to what Flatzoid did, and you can tell if you look closely that we're actually looking downwards. Flatzoid's argument seemed to be that perspective can make a level object point downwards.
What? That is an outright lie and a misrepresentation. Would you be so kind as to actually find me saying that, please? Please, I would like to see that.
Which is just plain bollocks, really.
Yes, agree, it's definitely bollocks because it's an argument I've never brought. It's one you've just made up. So, you've just caught out lying again. Thank you.
And so there's my ruler, and in that shot it does not appear to be pointing downwards. That's because I've got the camera below and I've got the jar of olives turned a little bit to make the perspective look different. So it looks like that, and when I look below it looks nice and flat. But that's just a deception and a trick of photography.
And you posted this thinking it debunks me somehow. How? You just literally put eye level where I placed it. And by the way, you took a different screenshot from further and a bit higher. You do know this, right? While going through this whole video, you haven't actually brought any argument. You didn't really make any sense of what you're trying to say, although you did validate my argument without you even knowing about it. Anyway, that's all critical think brought, and actually thought he actually had an argument. So I thought this might be the perfect time for me to try and explain to them the difference between elevation and eye level and angle of attack, and the effects it will have on your observation. Well, let's see if I can actually get these globe believers to understand what's going on. Here we have a level camera. That dotted line represents eye level relative to the camera's lens. That black square represents the field of view. Those poles each take up a certain amount in the field of view, thus that squares around them. What do you think will happen if we have to change your angle of attack? In other words, the camera's angle towards the observation. Now what happens once you've tilted the camera up? As you can see here, we've tilted it up. You have created a new eye level. This is based on your angle of attack. That red line is the old eye level. That is where the horizon is. Now because you've raised your camera angle, your angle of attack, you have changed the angular relationships to horizon. Do you understand now? Since you've changed it, you've lifted it up. You are no longer eye level. You are above eye level. Your new eye level is looking where that yellow line is. Now your horizon is now looking lower because you have raised your angle of attack. Now we've changed our angle of attack again. We've changed the angle downwards, looking to the ground. Now, can you see it gives an opposite effect? It has now pushed the horizon up further. So it has changed the elevation angle because you cannot see the elevation at level anymore. Your level has changed. Simple. You've just increased the floor's angle exponentially in the distance, and you have gone and raised it up relative to where elevation was. Now we're looking out level again. What we've done is changed our elevation. So the horizon has now changed because you changed our elevation. So what happens is you've pushed the horizon down further, so you've pushed it further away. Thanks to perspective, that horizon still rises relative to your eye level. You've just pushed it out further away so you'd be able to see more. Now we've gone and put the elevation lower. Still looking level, but your elevation is much lower. Now you are limiting that angle so much that the further in the distance, it's not resolvable anymore because you have a foreshortening effect of the ground in front of you. So therefore, the ground is occulting the further angles. This is how it happens. So this is looking level. If you had to change your angle of attack, what's going to happen? You're going to push the horizon relative to your elevation angle. So you have to understand, elevation and eye level is not the same thing. Eye level is literally just the level your eyes are perpendicular to the horizontal. The elevation is your altitude towards that horizon. Your angle of attack is your relative position of angled towards that horizon. Okay, so I'm trying to do a simple demonstration. Again, this time I'm going to use blocks so you can see it actually sitting level. You see those 3 blocks with the line? It's actually holding that pole level, just so you guys can stop straw manning me with nonsense. Yes, and I'm moving it up and down, showing you how it's pushing the horizon, eye level, to different locations. Okay, so I've placed it on the 3 blocks. I've placed exactly the same 3 blocks going out to the distance, and those 3 blocks sitting exactly next to that cream pot. Can you see how I'm changing my elevation? How it's changing the relative position of that cream pot and that 3 blocks. Obviously the 3 blocks that's next to the cream pot is going to stay about relative to the same because they are right next to each other. They're at the same distance with the exact same angular size. Please tell me, is this rod now bending downwards or is it level as I had it because it's sitting now on those 3 blocks? See how I'm changing my angle of attack constantly, how it's changing the relative position to that horizon line? This is just simple perspective that I was trying to point out to everybody. So Ranty, this is how I'm going to ask you again. You told me that on a flat plane you would be looking downwards. Why is it that I'm not looking downwards? I got an idea. Because it's perspective, Ranty. And that's why you can see the larger, taller mountain would be able to look relative to that mountain in the far distance. And because of angular size change and rising to eye level, we get the effect we do. So yes, simple perspective. Thank you, Ranty, for bringing this up and showing you have absolutely no idea how perspective works. So, I hope I got the message out to you guys. It's a simple perspective, and your angle changes everything. Thank you for watching. God bless. Enjoy your evening.